Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. She gets taunted in the boxing gym, until she silences the champion. The sun was setting through the large windows of the boxing gym, casting orange rays onto the punching bags and the center ring. The air was thick with the smell of sweat and leather, and the sound of gloves hitting fists and bags resonated like a throbbing rhythm. Sarah, a young woman with a slim but determined figure, walked through the door of the gym. Her hands were already wrapped in bandages, but her heart was pounding. She knew what awaited her. As soon as she stepped onto the floor, the whispers began. A few experienced boxers, sitting on the benches, watched her with a mixture of curiosity and mockery. "Look at the new girl, she thinks she can last more than 10 seconds in the ring," sneered a stocky man, causing everyone to burst into laughter. Sarah clenched her fists. Every laugh, every condescending comment stung her, but instead of backing away, she felt a new energy flood through her. She'd been ridiculed too many times to let herself be intimidated. The noise abruptly stopped as a massive figure appeared near the ring. Marcus, the Hammer, the undisputed champion of the gym, stepped forward with a sneer. His imposing frame, bulging muscles, and arrogant confidence made most of the novices tremble. The spectators fell silent, knowing that a fight against him would be a humiliating ordeal for anyone who dared to challenge him. "So you're the famous new girl," he said, his voice deep and mocking. "Do you really think you can beat me?" Sarah took a deep breath. Every fiber of her body was tense, ready to react. But in her eyes burned a flame no one in this room had ever seen, a fierce desire to prove she was not a mere spectator, not a target for ridicule. The champion took a step toward her, confident in his superiority. But as soon as the first blow landed, Sarah dodged with surprising speed. The precise movements, agility, and control she displayed in the ring began to make Marcus doubt. Every dodge, every counter, was a silent response to all those who had laughed at her. Tensions mounted as the fight reached its climax. The spectators, initially mocking, held their breath. Marcus, accustomed to effortless dominance, found himself facing an unpredictable and formidable opponent. And when the final blow landed, silence fell over the room. Marcus, the champion, had just been knocked to the ground by the young woman who had been so mocked. A mixture of shock and admiration coursed through the crowd. Sarah, her cheeks flushed and her body drenched in sweat, had just turned the mockery into a resounding victory, proving to everyone that you can never judge someone by their looks or size. The next morning, Sarah walked through the doors of the boxing gym again. The sunlight glided across the polished wooden floor, but this time, the atmosphere seemed different. The mocking laughter of yesterday was replaced by surprised looks and fascinated murmurs. The boxers who had taunted her the day before were whispering among themselves, visibly anxious about facing her. Marcus, the champion, approached with a tight smile. "So, kiddo, ready for a rematch?" he asked, trying to hide his embarrassment. But Sarah wasn't intimidated. She replied calmly, "If you want, but this time, I won't hold anything back." The coach, a man in his 50s named Tony, watched them closely. He had been impressed by Sarah's precise movements and speed the day before. "Let her show what she can do, Marcus," he said firmly. "Maybe you should learn something today." The fight began. This time, Sarah didn't just defend her blows. She attacked with confidence, chaining together quick and precise combinations. Marcus, accustomed to setting the pace, found himself surprised by her agility and strategy. Each of Sarah's dodges was calculated, each counter hitting exactly where it was needed. The other boxers watched, mouths agape. Some began to whisper among themselves, "She's amazing, who would have thought?" The champion didn't expect this. After a few intense minutes, Marcus stepped back, panting and slightly scratched. Sarah, despite her fatigue, maintained a determined look. She had just proven once again that her skills were not to be underestimated. Tony walked over to her and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've got real talent, Sarah. If you keep this up, you could become one of the best in this room." Sarah smiled shyly, feeling a pride she'd never felt before. Yesterday's teasing was now a distant memory. She knew she still had a difficult road ahead of her, but she was ready for the challenge, and nothing and no one would stop her from now on. In the following days, Sarah trained relentlessly. Every morning, she arrived before the gym opened, hitting the bags with impressive precision and practicing her dodges until her arms and legs trembled with fatigue. Her goal was clear: to become a formidable boxer, capable of standing up to anyone. One evening, as she was finishing her workout, another noise echoed through the room. The doors burst open, and a young man with an imposing appearance entered. His eyes shone with an almost arrogant confidence, and his smirk immediately caught everyone's attention. It was Derek, a boxer known for his quick wins and aggressive style. "So you're the new girl who knocked Marcus out?" he said, approaching the ring. His voice was tinged with defiance. "Interesting, let's see if you're as good as the rumors say." Sarah felt her heart beat faster, but she showed no signs of fear. "I don't back down from anyone," she replied calmly, her eyes staring into his with determination. Tony, the coach, intervened. "All right, you're going to warm up. But remember, it's not just strength that counts, it's technique and control." The fight began. Derek attacked with speed and power, throwing powerful blows that Sarah dodged nimbly. But this time, the young man had more strength and stamina than Marcus. Every exchange was intense, every move demanding total concentration. Sarah remembered past training sessions, lessons learned, and mistakes she'd made. She used her speed and feints to disorient Derek, combining offense and defense with perfect balance. The entire room held its breath, fascinated by the spectacle of this young woman who never ceased to amaze. After several minutes, Derek made a mistake: he left an opening. Sarah seized it immediately, landing a precise blow that made him step back, surprised and slightly dazed. Silence reigned for a few seconds before the room erupted into applause and cries of admiration. Tony approached her, a proud smile on his face. "You're progressing quickly, Sarah. Keep it up, and you'll become a true champion." Sarah, panting but satisfied, felt a surge of pride wash over her. She had faced her first real rival and emerged victorious, but she knew that even greater challenges awaited her. A few weeks had passed since her victory over Derek. Sarah's reputation had grown in the boxing gym. The regulars who once mocked her now regarded her with respect, some even with a hint of admiration. Every blow she landed, every fluidly executed dodge, was a testament to her discipline and determination. One afternoon, while she was training alone in the ring, Tony approached with a serious but enthusiastic face. "Sarah, I have someone to introduce you to," he announced. The door opened and a dapper man walked in, wearing a black tracksuit emblazoned with the logos of a renowned boxing club. He looked calm but observant, his eyes tracking Sarah's every move. "I'm Mark Reynolds, head trainer at the Phoenix Club," he said, extending his hand. "I've heard about you. I'm interested in your style, speed, and strategy. I'd like to offer you the chance to train with us and compete in some official competitions." Sarah's mouth fell open. The thought of leaving her usual gym for a prestigious club intimidated her, but her heart was pounding with excitement. "Me, competing?" she whispered. Tony smiled. "This is a unique opportunity. You have the talent and the discipline needed. If you like, I can help you make the transition a smooth one." Sarah felt a wave of emotion wash over her. The doubts and ridicule of the past seemed far behind her. She took a deep breath and, with a small smile, replied, "Okay. I want to take on this challenge." Mark nodded approvingly. "Very well. But know this, the competition will be tougher than anything you've faced here. You'll have to work hard, be strategic, and never underestimate your opponent." Sarah nodded. Her mind was clear, her goal defined. She knew this new chapter of her life would be demanding, but she was ready. Every drop of sweat she shed in the ring from now on would bring her closer to her dream, to become a respected boxer capable of competing with the best. As Mark and Tony walked away to discuss the details, Sarah stood alone in the ring, her fists clenched and her gaze determined. She felt her life had changed forever, and no obstacle, no matter how great, could stop her now. Sarah's first day at the Phoenix Club was a shock. The building was huge, with several rings, punching bags hanging everywhere, and a state-of-the-art weight room. Boxers of all levels were training with an intensity that immediately made her realize her past efforts were just the beginning. Mark Reynolds greeted her with a piercing stare. "Sarah, here, discipline is total. You will train twice a day, 6 days a week. Technique and fitness must become your second language." The first workout was a challenge. The speed, strength, and endurance drills seemed nearly impossible. Sarah's fists hit the bags with precision, but her arms trembled after each round. Breathless, she watched the other boxers chain together combinations with an ease that seemed unattainable to her. An experienced boxer named Jason, with an impressive physique and an aggressive style, approached her during a break. "So you're the new kid who's been making waves," he said, a mocking smile on his lips. "Think you can hold your own here?" Sarah looked up, her gaze firm. "I'm not here to talk, I'm here to learn and grow." Jason snickered but decided to teach him a lesson. "All right, then show me what you know." They entered the ring. Jason attacked with a power and speed Sarah had never faced. Every blow was a test, every dodge a challenge. But Sarah, applying everything she had learned so far, managed to anticipate his movements, block, and counterattack with precision. The other boxers stopped to watch, impressed by her mastery despite the difference in experience. At the end of training, Mark approached her. "You have potential, Sarah, but here you have to go further. Competitions don't forgive any weakness. Your body and mind must be ready for anything." Sarah nodded, aware that the intensity of the Phoenix Club would push her to her limits. But for the first time, she felt that every pain, every fatigue, every drop of sweat was bringing her closer to her goal. She was no longer just the young woman mocked at the local gym. She was becoming a real fighter, ready to face any challenge boxing would throw her way. The day of Sarah's first official fight had finally arrived. The Phoenix Club had organized a local tournament bringing together the best boxers in the region. The arena was packed, the stands filled with eager spectators, and the atmosphere was electric. Sarah's heart was pounding, but this time, it wasn't fear that dominated, it was excitement. Mark Reynolds placed a hand on her shoulder. "Remember what we've been working on. Focus, stay calm, and read your opponent. You're ready for this." Sarah nodded, gripping her gloves with determination. Her opponent, a young boxer named Vanessa, was known for her speed and aggression. She had won several local competitions and looked confident, almost arrogant. The gong sounded, signaling the start of the fight. Vanessa immediately attacked with a series of swift, powerful blows, seeking to surprise Sarah in the opening seconds. But Sarah dodged, counterattacked, and used her feints to destabilize her opponent. Every movement was precise, every blow calculated. The crowd held its breath. The rallies were fast and intense, and it became clear that Sarah wasn't just lucky, she possessed a technique and strategy that made her formidable. Vanessa, frustrated at her inability to dominate, quickened the pace, but Sarah remained calm, analyzing each opening carefully. In the third round, Sarah spotted a gap in Vanessa's guard. She struck with precision, sending her opponent to the ground. The room erupted with cheers and applause. Vanessa stood up, breathless and impressed, and extended her hand to Sarah in respect. Mark and Tony entered the ring to congratulate Sarah. "You did it!" Tony exclaimed. "It was a tough fight, and you showed all your skill and perseverance." Sarah, panting but smiling, felt an immense pride fill her. She had reached a crucial milestone, proving she could compete with experienced opponents and win, not just through strength, but through technique and determination. As she left the ring, she knew it was only the beginning. Other, even more difficult fights awaited her. But for the first time, she felt the taste of victory and the confidence that nothing and no one could stop her from now on. Sarah's victory in her first official fight quickly spread throughout the local boxing community. Social media was full of videos of her performances, and some sports journalists were beginning to take an interest in the young boxer who had defied all expectations. The very next day, Sarah received a call from Mark. "Sarah, I have good news, and a warning." He paused dramatically before continuing. "A local sponsor wants to support you, but with that comes exposure you've never experienced before. The media will be interested in you, other boxers may feel jealous, and you'll have to manage all of that while continuing to train." Sarah felt a slight tension in her chest, but she nodded. "I'm ready. I want to go all the way." The first interview with the sponsor was a mixture of surprise and stress. Questions about her personal life, her motivations, and her ambitions poured forth. Sarah answered sincerely, but she immediately felt the weight of expectations weighing on her. She was no longer just Sarah, the neighborhood boxer. She now represented a project, an image, a symbol of inspiration. Meanwhile, back at the Phoenix Club, some of the boxers began to eye her suspiciously. Jason, who had challenged her during her first training session, was no longer hiding his irritation. "She's already getting all the attention, and she's just getting started," he whispered to his friends. Sarah, aware of these stares, focused on her training. Mark kept reminding her, "Ignore the distractions. The only competition that really matters is in the ring." But the pressure began to build. The media wanted interviews, sponsors wanted public appearances, and social media demanded regular content. Sarah sometimes felt a mixture of fatigue and doubt. Was she really ready for this level of visibility? One night, after a long day of training and interviews, Sarah sat alone in the locker room. She looked at her bandaged hands, marked by exertion and sweat, and thought about how far she'd come since the teasing in the wardroom. A renewed determination surged through her. She'd worked too hard to give up now. The next day, she entered the ring with renewed energy. Every blow, every dodge, every move was a statement. Sarah was ready to face the pressure of the spotlight, the jealousies, and the challenges ahead. She knew the road would be long, but she was determined to become a champion both in the ring and in life. A few months later, Sarah had won several fights, solidifying her reputation in the local boxing world. But a new challenge loomed. She was to face Elena, the Tornado, an experienced boxer known for her devastating power and speed. Her reputation terrified even some of the best fighters at the Phoenix gym. On the day of the fight, the atmosphere in the arena was electric. The crowd was full of spectators, eager to see the clash between the young prodigy and the seasoned champion. Sarah felt her heart pounding faster than ever, but she focused on her goal. Mark walked over and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Remember what we learned. You have the experience, the technique, and the courage. Elena is formidable, but you are ready." The gong sounded and the fight began. In the first few seconds, Elena launched a series of rapid, powerful blows. Sarah dodged nimbly, but she felt the force of each impact. The Tornado was unpredictable, using complex combinations and constantly changing pace. The spectators held their breath. Sarah, despite the pressure, remained focused. She analyzed Elena's every move, looking for the slightest opening. Every dodge, every counter, was executed with precision, but fatigue was beginning to set in. In the third round, Elena attempted an aggressive attack, hoping to take Sarah by surprise. But Sarah, anticipating the move, dodged and countered with a rapid combination of body and face blows. Elena stepped back, slightly dazed. The audience erupted in applause. Despite the challenge, Sarah continued to hold her own against Elena. The following rounds were a true test of stamina and strategy. The young boxer drew on all her resources, using her speed and technique to offset her opponent's raw power. In the final round, Sarah finally saw an opening, a moment of imbalance in Elena's guard. She struck with precision, sending her opponent to the ground. There was silence before the room erupted into cheers and applause. Sarah, exhausted but victorious, raised her fists, cheered by the crowd. Elena stood up and, with a respectful smile, extended her hand to Sarah. "You're impressive, you deserved this victory." Mark and Tony entered the ring to congratulate Sarah. "You've just reached a major milestone, Sarah. few boxers can stand up to Elena and win. Sarah, panting but radiant, knew that this victory was not just a physical achievement, but a mental affirmation. She had proven that with determination, discipline, and courage, she could overcome any obstacle. And this fight was just the beginning of what life and boxing still had in store for her. After her victory against Elena, Sarah had attracted the attention of the national boxing authorities. Invitations to more prestigious competitions were pouring in, and she knew that the upcoming fights would be far more demanding than anything she had faced so far. The Phoenix Club became her second home. Each day was punctuated by intensive training sessions, strength exercises, and mock fights against increasingly experienced opponents. Sarah was beginning to feel fatigue building up, but her determination remained intact. At her first national tournament, the tension was palpable. The arena was immense, filled with spectators, journalists, and seasoned boxers from all over the country. Sarah felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness, aware that the slightest mistake could cost her dearly. Mark reassured her, "Remember, Sarah, boxing isn't just about physicality. Stay strategic, stay calm, and read your opponent. You're ready." Her first fight pitted her against a highly technical boxer known for her speed and ability to surprise her opponents. The exchanges were intense, dodging, precise punches, and rapid movement around the ring. Each round was a test of physical and mental endurance. Sarah sometimes felt the pressure mounting, especially with the cameras and the gaze of thousands of spectators. But she used this pressure as a source of energy. Every time she dodged a blow or landed a precise hit on her opponent, she felt her confidence grow. After several fierce rounds, she won her first national fight. Applause and cheers rang out throughout the room. Mark and Tony warmly congratulated her. "You've just reached a major milestone, Sarah. It's only the beginning, but you're already gaining momentum." However, Sarah knew the challenges were only just beginning. The next fights would pit her against even faster, stronger, and more strategic opponents. And with the growing media attention, she would also have to manage media attention, interviews, and sponsor expectations. Sitting in the locker room after the fight, bandaged hands and gasping for air, Sarah reflected on her journey. She remembered the mockery at the local gym, her first fight against Marcus, and all the hours spent training. All of it had led her here. And she knew, deep down, that no amount of adversity could break her resolve. The national tournament was approaching its climax. Sarah had won several tough fights, and each victory strengthened her reputation. But the next opponent she faced was considered the most formidable in the country, Julian, the Falcon, a boxer renowned for his strength, speed, and ability to anticipate his opponent's moves. As soon as Sarah entered the room, she felt a different tension. Julian was already in the ring warming up, his precise and fluid movements capturing everyone's attention. The spectators murmured, impressed by his ease and power. Mark approached Sarah, serious. "This fight won't be like any other. Julian knows all the classic techniques and counters. You'll have to be unpredictable and stay calm, no matter what." The fight began, and Sarah quickly grasped the magnitude of the challenge. Julian attacked with a precision and speed that surprised her every moment. Every dodge required total concentration, every counter a rapid analysis of the situation. Halfway through the third round, Sarah felt a searing pain in her right shoulder. An old injury, forgotten during the intense training, had resurfaced. The moment was critical. To give in to the pain was to risk defeat. But Sarah gritted her teeth and took a deep breath. She remembered everything she had been through since her debut, the ridicule, the defeats, the long hours of training. Nothing should make her give up. She adapted her strategy, relying more on her speed and feints to compensate for the strength of her injured arm. Julian, surprised by this change of pace and Sarah's creativity, began to lose his advantage. Sarah's punches were precise and intelligently placed, and she even managed to land a powerful jab that sent her opponent reeling. In the final round, Sarah focused all her energy. Every move was calculated, every blow charged with determination. Finally, she landed a perfect combination that forced Julian back to the ropes. The final gong sounded, and silence fell for a few seconds before the crowd erupted into cheers. Sarah, panting but victorious, raised her arms, knowing she had overcome her greatest challenge yet. Julian, exhausted but respectful, extended his hand. "You are incredible, you deserved this victory." Mark approached, his eyes shining with pride. "You just proved that even in pain and under pressure, you can push yourself to the limit. That's what a true champion is." Sitting in the locker room after the fight, Sarah realized that every obstacle, every injury, and every formidable opponent had forged her strength and character. She knew the road to the top of boxing wasn't over, but for the first time, she felt she could truly achieve her dreams. The national championship had reached its climax. Sarah had won all her previous fights with tenacity and intelligence, and now she found herself facing the most unpredictable opponent in the tournament, Cassandra, the Storm, a boxer known for her quick movements, creativity, and ability to unsettle her opponents mentally as much as physically. The arena was packed, the spotlights focused on the ring, and the atmosphere electrifying. Every spectator held their breath, knowing they were about to witness a legendary fight. Mark approached Sarah one last time before the gong. "Remember everything you've learned. Stay focused, read it, and use your intelligence as well as your strength. You're ready." The gong rang. Cassandra attacked immediately, combining speed with unpredictable feints. Sarah dodged and counterattacked, but each move required maximum attention. The Tempest seemed to anticipate her every blow, forcing Sarah to constantly improvise. As the rounds progressed, Sarah felt the fatigue and pressure mount. The cheers of the crowd, the media's scrutiny, the expectations of her sponsors, everything weighed on her shoulders. But instead of faltering, she drew on all her past experiences, the mockery in the local gym, the fights against Derek, Elena, and Julian, and the long hours of training at the Phoenix gym. Each memory transformed into strength. In the final round, Cassandra attempted a series of risky blows to close out the fight. Sarah, focused, dodged with precision and managed to land a perfect combination to her opponent's face and body. Cassandra backed away, disoriented, and the final bell sounded. Silence fell before the room erupted in cheers. Sarah raised her arms, breathless but her heart filled with pride. She had just won the national final. Cassandra, exhausted but respectful, approached and extended her hand. "You deserved this victory, you are a true champion." Mark and Tony entered the ring, their eyes shining. "You've done something extraordinary, Sarah. Every fight, every difficulty has led you here. Today, you proved that talent, discipline, and determination can take you to unimaginable heights." Sarah stepped out of the ring, surrounded by the applause of the crowd and her trainers. She knew this was not the end, but the beginning of an exceptional career. The ridicule and doubts of the past were now far behind her. She had become an accomplished, respected, and inspiring boxer, ready to face any challenges that life and boxing could throw at her. As the spotlights dimmed and the crowd continued to cheer, Sarah felt a mixture of exhaustion, relief, and euphoria. She smiled, knowing that every step, every struggle, and every obstacle had shaped her. And now, nothing and no one could stop her. Within months of winning the national championship, Sarah's life had completely transformed. The media were following her closely, sponsors were offering her contracts, and the Phoenix Club had become her true home, a place where she now shared her experience and passion with young boxers. Sarah began giving classes and holding workshops for beginners, especially those who, like her, had once been underestimated or mocked. She wanted to convey a simple but powerful message: determination, courage, and hard work can break down all barriers. Mark Reynolds, proud of his protégé, once told her, "You didn't just win battles, Sarah. You inspire others. You show that anything is possible when you believe in yourself." Sarah smiled, remembering her early days in that small community hall, the mockery and doubts that seemed insurmountable. She realized how each ordeal had prepared her for this moment. "Everything happened to bring me here," she whispered. Despite her growing fame, Sarah remained humble. She continued to train, learn, and perfect herself, knowing that boxing was a never-ending journey. But now, every victory, every fight, every effort took on a deeper meaning. She was no longer fighting just for herself, but for all those who needed an example, an inspiration, proof that perseverance can change a life. As the sun set over the Phoenix Club, Sarah looked at the empty ring and took a deep breath. The sound of gloves and punches still resonated in her memories, like an echo of all she had accomplished. She smiled, ready to write the next chapter of her life, that of a champion, a mentor, and above all, a woman who had transformed ridicule and obstacles into an invincible force. And in the hearts of all who watched her grow up, Sarah would forever remain a symbol of courage and determination, living proof that every challenge can be turned into triumph.